Today, every day, small cap investors visit Agoracom knowing this is the day to discover the world's next great company, to have their dreams come true. That's why I take to the open road, to find them, to tell their stories, to engage them, to bring them to life, because they want to connect with you from your office, your phone, your home, anywhere. Agoracom, find your dream.
Welcome to Beyond the Press Release, a production of Agoracom, in which we take the time to speak with small cap executives right after recent important news. With us today, I'm happy to have for the second time in a month, and you know that must mean good stuff is going on, Alan Barry-Laboucan, President CEO at Advanced Gold, trades on the venture under AAX. Now, for those of you who are new to the story, and that is going to be a lot of you, I mean, Alan and the company have a big following, but you know, there's still a lot of people who haven't heard about the company and the discovery every day. Advanced controls a 100% interest in the Tabasquena Silver Mine. It's located in the state of Zacatecas. That's produced approximately 40% of all the silver ever mined in Mexico, 10% of all the silver mined in the world. So he's in elephant country. Now, what makes the company different is just a couple of things. They're an early adopter of a new way of approaching exploration, because you got to know capital is extremely tight in the small cap exploration and junior mining space. And they're developing a great response to these adverse conditions. Company's only got 16 million shares outstanding. Insiders own around 30% of the stock. First 4 drill holes were met with great success. The property has already got existing mine infrastructure and permits, and now they've announced the second stage of drilling, which typically isn't a big deal, but we've got a lot to say. Alan, welcome back.
George, thanks for having me, man. And yeah, you know, you made a good point there at the end of your intro that that with the why at this stage, why is it getting more interest for us that we're starting a phase 2 drill program? And you know, I think later we should talk a little bit about what people are looking for, and I think what are moving stocks these days. But with us having so little stock out, being in elephant country, having such a tiny valuation, and now with the catalyst of drilling, I think that combination is getting us off the canvas, so to speak.
Well, and it doesn't hurt that you had what you can define as a discovery hole in your first round.
Yeah,
right?
Gold discovery. We were really focusing on silver because that's what's around here, and historically, that was what was produced at the Tabasquena mine. I mean, ultimately, I wanted to get underneath the oxide zone, not what's up in the oxides was not what I wanted to look at for a mine. It's below those in the epithermal veins. It's called zonation, George, and what you'll have is you'll have in the top oxidized, when that material is close to oxygen, some of the material will fall out. That's your oxide zone. Below that, you're going to have your precious metals window. It could be 300 to 700 meters. Then below that is your base metals in these epithermal veins. So I wasn't really interested in, you know, sometimes you can make a ton of money on those oxide deposits, but that's not what interests me. I wanted to get underneath the oxides and test for that high grade silver or gold. In our case, we only got 1 hole under it. We found 3 new veins that still remain to be drilled to that depth, but we did get 1 hole underneath that, and that was our high-grade gold discovery hole.
And for everybody who doesn't know, but what was the number, if you remember? What did you guys hit there?
Yeah, we had 1.7 meters of 12 grams. What was interesting about that, George, is a lot of times in a small intersection like that, they'll smear the grade out. We didn't smear it at all. That you had like a half a meter of 8 grams, a half a meter of 12 grams, a half a meter of 11. So it averages out at, you know, 11, 12 grams somewhere in there. But yeah, we could have smeared it out further because there was gold all along the way in that hole. But I'm not interested in those kind of shenanigans.
Yeah, and that's one reason why so many people love you at the end of the day. And hey, a big reason why a lot of people don't like it, because you call people out on those kind of shenanigans.
Exactly. I'm an anti VSE kind of Vancouver Stock Exchange, House Street, Bay Street promoter type, George, and I rub people the wrong way. But I'm most interested in my audience, what my audience can do with the information that I've provided over the years. And that's what interests me the most, George. I'm in this for the people that follow what I do. Now,
let's talk about what you're doing. So you're going to test below the gold discovery. You're going just about 100 meters, right?
Yes.
Below that.
Yep.
How did you guys figure out to go 100 meters below? Because remember, people who are watching this are not, geologists. So why 100 meters? Why not 300 meters below? Why are you right there?
Goes back to that zonation I was talking about earlier, George. The oxide zone is about 175 meters. We drilled maybe 10, 15 meters into that. That's not really where you're looking for the precious metals horizon. There's been a lot of studies. Peter McGaw wrote a paper who found the Juanicipio mine for mag silver. He wrote a paper. There's lots of research because these epithermal veins around here have been mined for 500 years, George. We know a lot about those veins. And his research says that when you're looking at about 1,900 meters above sea level, down maybe 600 or 700 meters is your precious metals window in the area. So I wanted to get a good 100, 125 meters into that precious metals window and see what the grade looks like. Now, George, I also want to point something out here because this is helpful for other people looking at other projects as well. Most companies aren't doing a 100-meter step out down dip. They're not doing a 100-meter step out along strike, George. And why they do that 10-meter little incremental differences is because they're trying to keep the balls in the air.
Yeah, safe.
I'm interested in killing this or making it live. Either this is a mine or it isn't a mine. And I'm not interested in fooling around and trying to pretend that it is if it isn't.
Yeah, because you can pretend and extend it out and keep drawing a salary and keep raising money and keep drawing a salary like a lot of these guys do. But you either want to find it or you want to move on, whatever.
Exactly.
And you're pretty confident. Okay, it's not a coin flip the way we're done talking. Maybe people think it's a coin flip. But what I liked was the following about what you said. I took this quote up. Targeting the veins deeper is crucial. We aren't reinventing the wheel here. Epithermal veins in the region have been studied for the 500 years plus of mining in the state of Zacatecas, Mexico. So you're feeling pretty confident that you're going to hit something. You just don't know how big. Is that the case, Alan?
Yep. That's what I'm looking for, George.
It's not a case of hitting. It's a case of how big it'll be.
Right. It's like a boiling pot of water. Okay. The bubbles at the top, that's the oxide zone. I want to get into the water. We've only touched the boiling water and we've already found high grade. So that's why I want to get deeper into the boiling water and see what the grade looks like down there a little more.
I'll tell you what was also impressive. You picked up the mining-related equipment of the previous owners for $300,000, which in itself sounds like a deal, but I'm not sure. Maybe that's the face value of it and you paid full price. But you paid for it in stock at a deemed price of 50 cents per share.
Yep.
So you paid for it in stock at 3.5 times higher than current level. So I'm going to ask you a question. Is that because they had no choice because who the hell else is going to take their equipment? Or is that a case of, yeah, they feel confident enough in what's going on there that they're not, they're comfortable taking stock at 50 cents for their mining equipment?
Yeah, George, when it comes to running companies, I'm a little bit different than most other guys. And, these guys that put the money into the mining equipment, they kept that project alive. And because they kept the project alive and the equipment's there, I wanted to do a fair deal for them and a fair deal for us. So that price that I put on it is pretty close to making them whole on the investment that they put in. But I wanted it at a discount because I don't want to pay full price. So I thought it was but that's not the ultimate reason that I did the deal. The ultimate reason is I want to keep those options open. Here's what happens in a lot of cases, George. Companies, when they make a discovery, they're in a real rush to get to the resource calculation. We want to run around and say, we got this many ounces, blah, blah, blah. But in reality, if you want to get bought out, the majors don't need your resource calculation. But what they can benefit from is a head frame, a 100-meter down shaft. If you then cut across it, that kind of work that you can do prior to, well, if as much as you can do it, that will be beneficial to mining down the road, that you can use well in exploration, is much better money spent. So we've got a brand new head frame. In fact, if you go on Google Earth, you can actually see the head frame from Google Earth. It's practically never been used. It's pretty much brand new. We got a bunch of other equipment that went along with it. So what it really does for me, George, makes it so that we can do a good business deal, makes everybody happy, and it keeps a good, important option open for us.
Yeah, and I like that. I got to tell you, when I saw that, it spoke volumes about how you run the company, and you're not just giving away paper and flooding things out there for the sake of trying to rush into something. And the fact that the previous owners were willing to do that deal with you means that, hey, here's what and I'm not putting words in your mouth, but this is how I read it, all right? If they thought the project was garbage and there's nothing there, then I would say, to hell with that. I'm not taking any of your stock. Just give me cash. Even if it's going to be 30 cents on the dollar, give me cash. Because the stock ain't going to be worth anything in 6 months or 9 months once these guys figure out there's nothing here. And you never know, right? They might have been telling a great story to people before you came along. But this, to me, says, no, we're pretty confident something's there. We'll take the paper. We want to stay. So they've got like 600,000 shares, right?
Yep.
600,000 shares at 50 cents is $300,000.
It's got the standard where you
phase out. Yeah, you're phasing it out. It's not all one shot.
Right.
Yeah. It's not all one shot. It's got holes and all that, which tells even more. Which tells even more because, again, if I was the previous guy who ran this property and I figured there's nothing there but great dirt, that's what I want to do is have stock that's being
George,
over a 12, 15-month period. That's not going to be worth anything because I know the project's got nothing. So that says a lot.
That person he's from Europe, Spain, and he was associated with a guy over here in Mexico. They were kids growing up in Spain. The other guy moved over here. Anyways, long story short, they were trying to put this back into production, basically trying to follow along what Pinoli's had done up in the oxide zone. But that doesn't mean that we can't use what they did deeper. So he's been a believer in the project for a long time. And then when we started drilling back 3 or 4 months ago and the stock popped up, I got an email from my guy here, hey, we saw what's happening. So I kind of knew that I could do a stock deal then. But it was also, business is business, and being personal and how you do things, doing it the right way is important to me as well. And, I kind of knew that we could do a stock.
It's good karma.
Exactly.
Right, because
everybody's happy. He's a happy new shareholder, and we're happy to have 100% ownership of everything there.
Yeah, and that speaks volumes too. Like I said, I don't want to repeat myself. It speaks volumes. And I like the karma bit, which is, these guys, for whatever reason, weren't able to get it done on their own, but now they've got a second bite at the apple, pretty substantial shareholders. That's a meaningful position they've got there, right?
Exactly. And, well, considering we only have what 16 million out, so that's a pretty significant position. Once
quick calculation, you're talking about almost 0.5% of the company.
No.
Sorry, 4%, almost 4% of the company.
Exactly.
Right. So that's just about there. So I think that's.
So they're really stoked about the drilling results, us drilling, us getting busy with it, and so am I, George. It's a quite. I told somebody the other day, I get sort of promoted and then people throwing mud at me. But at the end of the day, George, I've been in this business for 25 years, and I've been looking for something like this for 25 years.
Yeah,
I have it in a stock that has no stock out, and I own a big chunk of it. So I'm pretty stoked these days, George. It's we're drilling, and we're going to be putting out a lot of news. Here's what I think I'm going to news flow. I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about that, George.
Actually, that's what I was going to ask you. Timelines, like what are we looking at? When will the drilling start? How long will it take? Generally, how long does it take to get results back? Not that we're going to put you on a precise deadline, but we're looking at a month, 2 months, 4 months. What people will be expecting?
I'm glad we're going to talk about that, George, because here's the way it works. These next batch of holes that I'm doing in phase 2, they're going to take about a week to 10 days each. So hole 1 that we announced, on Monday or Tuesday, we'll be done that by the end of the weekend, maybe Monday or Tuesday. We'll log it. We'll do all that. We'll send it to the lab, and then we'll turn around, start another hole. So that is, and we'll put news releases out when the hole's completed.
Per hole? So are you going to announce per hole completion, per hole results?
Yeah, that's my plan.
Wow,
another thing I got advantage of in the phase 1 drilling, George, is I kind of got my system down pretty good now. The drillers, I know how long it takes them. I know how to get the lab work ready and get a news release out there. So I'm planning on a pretty consistent flow of results and more drilling and more assay results and details about drilling for, months ahead of us here.
So how many holes you doing?
I told you last time, George, I think really what I'm trying to do here is just start phase 2. Okay. And as I need some money, raise a little bit more money and keep that drill going from here till Christmas, take a little break, and then get rolling again in the new year.
Right now, you're doing what, 2 or 3 for sure, or how's it?
Well, I got enough money for 3 or 4 right now,
all
and
right.
I think by the time I get 1 or 2 of those out the door, as far as assays, we should be able to raise a little bit more money. And that, when I say a little bit more money, everybody else talks about $1, $2, $3 million programs. George, my $2 million program cost me about $200,000 down here. So, it's a whole different mentality than what most people are looking at when they're looking at juniors up in Canada.
Plus, people should know, again, is this for all the new people, you can pretty much order a pizza from the property while you're drilling and get ordered there, because you're not up in some mountain range on some dangerous ridge with helicopters and impossible to get to. You could be drilling and order a pizza, order Uber to come up and feed you guys lunch if you had to.
That's how beautiful it is. You should add to our Agoracom hub is I'm going to get you a picture of the Google Earth image so you can see the head frame and you can see that there's basically.
Well, we'll put it up right here for this interview. We'll put it up right here. We'll make sure it's up for everyone to watch at, and they're going to be looking at it right now.
Here we are. There's a set of mountains here, and then on the other side, I'm not talking mountains like in BC. I'm talking like, a few drivers and you're over the mountain. If you're a golfer, you know what I mean. I could hit one driver into the mountain, one on the other side, and then you're in Ojocaliente, the town of Ojocaliente.
Yeah, and that's what I love about it. You're not facing any crazy terrain or things like that.
No,
so for the next for the next starting in a couple of weeks, you're gonna have some pretty consistent news flow for 6 weeks. 6, 7, 8 weeks sounds like.
Well, no, I think far beyond that, George. I think right through the end of the new year, and then into the new year.
I'm saying just based on what you have now. Forget about as you raise money and keep doing more.
Yeah. Well, we still have to. Part of the plan is still raising some money along the way, but that's sort of my goal, is to just start phase 2 and keep it going.
Does that mean that I got to look at you like I got to do these things and be forced to look at you for
every couple
of weeks?
Every couple of weeks, yeah, George.
We're gonna have to renegotiate our contract, buddy.
Nah, nah, you should charge me less because you get
No.
to see my handsome face and my cheery attitude.
And your Mexican flag behind you, because right now you look like you're the leader of Mexico right now. Next interview we're gonna have El Presidente playing right in.
Well, you know, George,
Your musical interlude.
Mexico has become a real, you know, I live down here now and I kind of have immersed myself in the society, and I think that not only am I excited to be here as someone in the mining business, but I think there is tremendous economic growth coming ahead for Mexico, and you're going to see more strength in their dollar.
Deal signed with the U.S. You know, that's done. That trade deal is done, signed up.
Well, to
be signed, but they've come to terms to be signed in November. But sounds like that's put away, no problem. That's going to be great for the country.
And the Americans would be crazy not to, because right here in Mexico we have the labor force, the hardest working people in the world are right here in Mexico. They're the best farmers. They can make anything that can compete with China now. They've got all the natural resources. They got tourism. I think that AMLO is going to do a great job down here to change the situation on crime. And I'm very bullish on Mexico, as well as mining in Mexico and for advanced gold in Mexico.
Yeah, buddy, and you could feel the passion. Look, I kid around with you a lot. I jab with you a lot because, you know, that's a relationship we've always had. But I'm going to say it for everybody. I love you. I respect you. I'm cheering for you because you have grinded it out. You're not that guy who was a lawyer and accountant who got together with another lawyer and accountant and formed a company, bought property and put a promoter on it, right? You've paid your dues. You've grinded. You've learned from the bit. You've moved your way up. You're on BNN as an analyst. Actually, we're going to talk about that in a second. And now you're running your company. So you are, you know, you're the guy that has to win. Right, you're the guy that can relate to 99% of the rest.
Well, I tell people, yeah, it's going to end up taking me about 25 years to become an overnight success, George. So
I'm pulling for you, bro. I
paid my dues.
Let me ask you about the mining analyst side. Let's switch gears, then we'll end it on this note. What do you think is going on there in general out in the small cap mining world? Because it seems like, look, marijuana stocks are seizing up. You know, they're just sucking up all the dollars. It's unbelievable. It's like the dot-com days, these massive runs up, down, you know. That's so naturally, it seems like a lot of other companies are getting ignored. I mean, even tech companies, forget about mining, tech companies, you know, blockchain, artificial intelligence, they're getting ignored. So what do you think's happened to, you know, small cap resource companies out there? How are things shaping up?
On the weed side of things, I mean, George, I think it's always good advice for a businessman to be careful about jumping into a commodity business that the stuff grows like weeds. There's a reason it's called, they say it grows like weeds, because it grows like weeds. That is not a good commodity business over the long haul. I think we've seen a tremendous mania in the weed deals. It's across the board, not just in Canada. Now it's down in the States. You've seen them talk about it all the time on CNBC. But, you know, George, I think it has clearly gotten into the mania. And for those that have made big gains, take your money off the table, please. This is not going to turn out very good. When you have a commodity that grows like weeds, and everybody wants to get into it, you know, everywhere in the world, they want to grow that stuff now. That is not a good business to be in long term. And so some people are going to it's going to be consolidated. Some people are going to make fantastic returns, but be careful as you fall down the food chain. And the opposite is happening. It's the opposite in mining right now. Which, George, you know me, I'm a real contrarian. I'm not the contrarians that everybody says they're a contrarian, but they don't pull the trigger when it's time to buy. Okay? Well, today we're in that kind of buyer's market. And I think people want to get aggressive into the juniors and look for those companies that don't have a lot of stock out. They've got serious people, serious projects, serious drill results. and focus on those, because right now, George, I've been finding some tremendous trading opportunities in mining, even though we're at the opposite of a mania. Buy when you're at the opposite of a mania. Sell when
Our blood in the streets. Our blood in the streets for small cap companies, small cap juniors right now. Is this blood in the streets?
Blood on the streets for the junk. Yeah, and I like it like that. I wish there was less junk out there and there's more quality. The quality is getting attention. Look at my friends at Great Bear Resources. They made a discovery out in Red Lake. I love Red Lake. McEwen just put in $10 million or something like that into the deal. It's trading at $2. Before they came out with the results a couple months ago, they were trading at like 40 cents. Today they're trading, they're last at like $2. My buddy,
go show you the quality is still getting rewarded.
I can give you more. My buddy down here in Mexico, Evram, Patty Nickel runs the company. Me, Patty Nickel, myself, and Bob Singh, who's the guy who's doing all the work at Great Bear, we worked together in a large geological consulting firm that also had a couple of exploration companies public. And so we grew up together in the 90s, the early 2000s. Now Bob Singh's hit it out of the park with Great Bear. It looks like they've got it out of the park. And my buddy Patty with Evram EVM, looks like they got a smoker down here in Mexico as well. The stock was 20, 30 cents. Now it's $1.50. Newmont just put in a big chunk of money. There's another one I just bought the other day, Sokoman.
I bought that with you. I saw you tweet about that SIC, and I bought it with you at 50 cents or something like that.
It doesn't have a lot of stock out, George. They got good results out in back east. The stock went up, came back down. 2 weeks from now, they're going to be drilling again. The same stuff that caused the excitement a month or two ago, they're going to be drilling it again in like 2 weeks. George, for the real stories, they're doing really good. There's life out there. And that's, sort of what you want to look at after you've been knocked down. The junior market's been on the canvas for a long time. Someone's giving it the smelling salts because they're starting to come alive.
Paradoxically, what may be happening is all this weed stock sucking up all the money may actually be paradoxically doing a good thing for the resources space, because the junk is dying. There's just there's no money for junk speculation. Let's pick up George's Gold Co. at 7 cents. And
it's got no stock out, and we own it all, and we're going to do this, that, and another thing.
Those guys getting smoked, and what the quality is being rewarded. So there's enough money for quality, just not enough. The excess money is being sucked out into other spaces. So maybe there's marijuana paradox.
George, that's the quintessential smart money kind of play. The smart money sniffing it out. Rob McEwen hasn't been in Red Lake since he sold Goldcorp. Okay? The guy's been following it for 10, 15 years now. Great Bear makes a discovery, boom, puts $10 million in.
Hopefully, you're next, buddy.
Thanks, buddy. I'd like to sound.
You're next.
I don't need.
If nothing else, people know that if anybody new is watching for the first time, they can see the passion. They know your stuff. You're not a promoter. You're not. You're talking about your love of the game of mining and finding real stuff and being rewarded truly, as opposed to promotionally and things like that.
Yeah, no, George. I'm all about trying to find the wealth building stocks of the future. Well, in my reports, I never was jump on the latest hot stock. I was always looking for Gold Eagle before they got taken over, or all these other companies that I followed and got
Premier Gold Mines and guys.
That's what Premier Gold Mines. Those kind of companies. By the way, the Premier Gold indicator is very strong right now. When Premier Gold is on the cheap, it's almost like the Yamana indicator. When Yamana gets down to $3, it's time to buy juniors. It happens every time.
That's an interesting indicator. That's a pretty interesting indicator.
Yamana got beat down to like $3, 2.5 after boom. I've seen this in 15 years. I've probably seen it 5 times.
All right, and I still outtraded you, but still, you know, you bring some interesting theories at that table. Were we tied 1-1, or did I beat you 2-1 in tax loss selling over those 2-3 years, or were we tied?
I don't know who won the most, George, but at the end of the day,
we've both been great, buddy.
That was a phenomenal show that we did with the investors. Should look at that show and try to emulate that every year, year after year.
We'll do it again. We'll do it again this year.
It's almost like a 50 to 100% pop across your portfolio if you follow that formula of what we did. George and I, at the last 2 weeks of December, would pick our favorite picks.
Top 5 each. 5 each.
Inevitably, within 6 weeks later, they were up across the board, 50 to 100%.
Yeah, it was crazy. We're going to do it again this year. We're going to do it again this year.
To me, it's always about sticking to quality. In this business, there's so much junk. Don't mess around with the junk. Stick to the quality. That's where wealth is made in this business.
Buddy, as always, fantastic interview. People love our interviews. Your energy is awesome. Your brains are great. And we get the jibber jabber going between us where we actually stick each other a little bit.
Well, we got for sure one really smart guy when the two of us are on.
And you know what? We'll let people decide when they talk about this on Twitter at Agoracom and co.ca. You know, we'll let them decide. We'll take a poll. Buddy, thanks for joining us, man. It's a Friday, so the fact that you're on here, but this is going to make a great video for people to watch this weekend. Awesome.
George, I'm relentless. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I'm drilling this weekend while everybody else is out having samosas or something.
Buddy, have a great weekend. For everyone at home, we hope you enjoyed this interview. This is the way to end the weekend. This is what you watch when you want to learn stuff over the weekend. So have a great weekend watching this. Make sure you get onto Agoracom. Chat with Alan. He's right there. Post messages, post questions, what your thoughts are, what your theories are. He's right there. And most importantly, it's moderated, no nonsense. You want to be critical, go ahead and be constructively critical. You want to ask great questions, you're going to get great dialogue. Hope to see you guys there. Have a great weekend. And remember, Advanced Gold, TSX Venture Exchange, AAX is a symbol. Do your due diligence. Don't say we didn't tell you so. Talk to you soon.